Alrighty, hello everybody and welcome back to Sparx's 2 Key event presented by Joke. We are nearing the tail end of these Saturday matches, and what a way to end off Saturday with probably the most anticipated match this entire weekend. It is going to be our 4th seed Era Basil versus our 5th seed Zoobin. These two players have shown absolute perseverance throughout past Joke tournaments, and now they are going to be duking it out in the winners quarterfinals. And the scary thing, one of these players are going down in the losers bracket. And not to mention, we have not seen Basil play at all this tournament. So this is the first time we get to see Basil play in an actual match. As always, my name is Arison, and commentating along with me for this match is going to be none other than Sparky. Sparky, how's it going?
It's going absolutely fantastic. Clocking out of one job, clocking into another. Excited to be here to bring out one of the few winners bracket matches that we have this weekend. We're starting to really thin the herd a bit with regards to that winners bracket. And like you mentioned, it's going to be very scary. One of these two players is going to drop down into that losers bracket. And another thing to your point, this is the first match we actually get to see Basil play in. For once, she is not getting a win by default.
Yeah, we have seen the trend of Basil getting the win by default in the tournament, but I mean, thankfully Zoobin showed up. Thankfully, they did not oversleep. They did not forget they had a match. They have shown up on time, and we are ready to have definitely a match for the ages.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now it looks like we're gonna get into the warm-ups here before too long. See if either of them have something in store for us here. I think both these players willing to put the time to either have something ready or come into the match already pre-prepared. So
and we're just getting underway.
Are you getting gaslit by one of the players, Sonny?
Yeah, that is exactly what is happening. Okay, so our voices are going to be muted on the VOD.
Yeah. And Zoobin, of course, asking if they can play with double time, because nobody. They can and will double time everything under the sun. Stop having fun.
Alright, unfortunately we are not going to see the double time gameplay, but after a bit of gaslighting, we are going to get underway with a DMCA, and as well as a very interesting warm-up. Basil, definitely one of the few players we have that definitely decided to go out of their way and map customs for warm-ups, and okay.
I mean, pretty calm introduction, all things considered. I feel like it's mapped appropriately. It's not super dumpy. It's not outrageously overmapped. It's calm.
Yeah, this is definitely what one would say not going into the funny juice.
Yeah, exactly.
Normally with what I've seen with Basil is that they tend to just map of what they hear. That's what I do at least, and I think Basil has adapted the same when I played some of her maps throughout my Osu career. They kind of just map with what they hear and kind of just go off of the density as well, based off like the intensity of the instrumentals is what I would like to say. So
yeah, it's pretty apt. And I mean, to be fair, for both of these, I mean, for Zoobin, I imagine this is probably, wait, no, I'm pretty sure they've played this pack. This probably isn't the site read. So I mean, it's going to be a neck and neck struggle with regards to the rice charts. Both these players definitely have the physical acumen to be able to play basically everything in this pool. I mean, we've seen it from Zoobin. If anybody keeps track of the Discord, their score posts after rounds, posting everything with double time, and still being able to S-rank most, if not all, of the maps in the pool so far. I think the tiebreaker was the first one that they couldn't double time get an S on right out of the gate. So maybe we're reaching the limits of what they can do with double time, and they'll come back down to earth eventually. But it'll be really interesting to see how they pair up against somebody like Basil, whom we haven't seen so far. But I think we both know that she has been putting in numerous amounts of hours into practicing for 2-key. It's just unfortunate that her opponents haven't reciprocated that.
Yeah, and I mean, like, this like isn't even just for 2-key itself. This can go as far as when I believe she first appeared on the scene into joke-related tourneys with, I believe, 1-key World Cup, or maybe dates back. Yeah. Maybe dates back earlier. I'm unsure, but she was probably one of the sole reasons why USAC made it. Yeah, made it about as far as they did actually throughout 1-key World Cup. Basil was definitely one of the definitely the founders of pretty much. Okay.
Okay, we were misled for 95% of this chart. Okay, there is some silly up in here, but thankfully very brief. But the sudden SV jump scare.
Yeah, just imagine you're Basil and you're seeing your opponent still getting a 99, even though they're going in on a complete side read with SV.
I mean, yeah.
Task, yeah. I guess maybe Task failed successfully. I guess, but yeah, like you can even see, just like kind of, if you were to take out the SV from there, this would be a very close match. You can see these ratios are pretty neck and neck, honestly, and we're not even in the match yet.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be. I think it's just really going to come down to who amongst these two can actually execute when called upon on their particular picks. I feel like whoever gets that first breakpoint in this match is probably going to snowball it, because that getting back into your own comfort pick, just being able to put the pressure on, and yeah, this is going to be Zoobin's warm-up.
And Zoobin has requested double time.
That's not double time, you put Nightcore.
Do you want to get DMCA'd?
I mean, the warm-ups are muted. It's a moot point. I don't really think it matters at this point.
Alright, I'll give what they want.
Yeah, it's player's choice, not us. We don't matter. And plus, there's a VOD anyways, so there's a local recording. So if they really wanted the audio, they could just ask for it.
Also, I just realized this is mapped by Miniag. I thought this was a Zoobin custom.
Yeah, I think they just mentioned it in the chat. It's their first one, so always excited to see more people getting into 2-key charting. It's gonna be interesting to see what this map actually has.
And I would reckon by seeing Miniag, and I can already probably tell by this chart, definitely probably LN bias, since I know Miniag is a very strong LN player. So they probably, if I were Miniag, I would probably map stuff that's in my field of range, and that's definitely what we can see here. And okay, I can see why Zoobin wanted DT on this now. Oh my god!
I mean, what we're pushing. It's 198 base. Double time is what, 1.5x. That makes it about 250. No.
That is.
Would that be pushing 300? I don't know how the BPM calculation works with double time, if I'm being extremely honest.
I'm pretty sure.
Or does it just flat double time it?
I'm pretty sure our laser client has kindly given us the correct rate on DT.
Alright, so 200 BPM, and I mean, to be fair, patterning not the most complicated. It's basically 1/4. I haven't seen a lot of 1/8 that would really start making it kind of fly off the handles. But this is probably what the players are hoping to see once we get into semis, finals, and even grands later on in this tournament. I mean, if they can swing stuff like this, then I mean, these later map pulls are going to be a cakewalk for both of them. Might even be easier compared to what they're seeing here. So it's nice that they put the challenge to themselves and are actually committing to being really good at this key mode.
Yeah, for sure. And as we approach the tail end of the map, that will conclude warm-ups.
Very nice. And despite it being a set read, that's a really good score from Basil there with double time.
A very good score from Basil. You can definitely see. And what you did not. Don't
What Korjak does to people.
do not tell me that you single tapped this.
I mean, you look at you're surprised Basil single tapping it, but then you look at players like Nathaniel, who I believe also
Yeah.
single taps everything.
I
And
mean, yeah. I guess 4-key players try something else.
I mean, exactly. You have 4-key players that are literally playing like 350 BPM jacks. When you go down to 198, it's like, oh, this is easy. They're way too physical for their own good, and I worry for their wrists. But enough of the warm-ups. We can get into the official rolls, and unfortunately, your roll doesn't count. That 4 does not matter. Zoobin rolling the 15. Let's see what Basil rolls.
Just gonna. I mean, my roll counts in my heart. And
66.
Can Basil's roll be mine? No, sadly it cannot. Well, Basil gonna be winning the roll, which means Zoobin will be getting to opt for that first ban. I mean, if you're Zoobin, you could pretty much put a blindfold on and just randomly just pick whatever you want.
Yeah, just pick whatever you didn't like.
And I would reckon there's one. Oh, still in. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. That it's a really awkward chart to play through in terms of the hybrids.
Basil's happy.
Yeah, it's definitely, there's 3 different styles of hybrids going on this week, and I feel like Still in My Heart is probably the one that's going to catch most of the band's credits. Despite the awkward polyrhythmic structures here and there, I feel like it's familiar enough to everybody that the rhythmic structures aren't the worst. And Basil getting rid of Rice 1, understandable. It's the most straightforward Rice chart, and against somebody like Zoobin, you don't want to get into an accuracy shootout despite also being good at accuracy yourself. It'd be way too much of a toss-up when you can try and cash them out on something a little bit harder, a little bit more tech-oriented like Rice 4.
Alright, now the bans are in the books. It's time for Basil to opt for that first pick. I would not be surprised if they probably want to test the waters. I mean, seeing how Rice 3 is still on the board really surprises me, and both LN picks as well. I'm not really surprised that SV is up, since I know both these players definitely can and will learn the SV.
Yeah. It's one of those where I feel like Basil probably has more aptitude or more inclination to go for the SV. Zoobin always strikes me as the type to pick it up if they need to, but never will like willingly go into it, at least in comparison to some of the other players left in this tournament. So it'll be interesting to see, because it's not as weird as last weekend's. It definitely does warrant a bit of practicing, but it's definitely sight readable, or at least like first or second tryable. And right now, still waiting on Basil's pick. I think the players getting distracted. Yeah, they're just vibing. It's 2 friends playing against each other, and not really paying attention to the matters at hand. But once we get into it, once the nerves settle in, it'll be interesting to see which one of them cracks first.
And are they gonna go for the SV right off the bat?
Yeah, just might as well get it out of the way.
We're just ripping off the Band-Aid, okay? I mean, you love to see it.
Yeah, this one has some very interesting speed up and slowdowns throughout it. No real awkward like teleports, full stops like we have seen in earlier weeks. It's very much reading oriented, some really physical patterns, And some of the bursts can catch you out if you're not expecting the nodes to speed up as quickly as they do. The snaps do get a little deceptive, so I'm interested to see which one of these players can maybe swing an FC on it. It's really hard to FC consistently. Oh yeah, turn off double time, please.
Act like nothing happened. I was completely sidetracked by their little conversation that I forgot double time was still on.
I mean, I don't think either of these players would really complain all that much, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
they're both of the same ilk of, if I can do it faster, I will do it faster. The scary thing is that they're really good at it.
just waiting for Basil to ready up before we start off this one hell of a match. And oh my goodness, the nerves are already kicking in and we're not even in. This is already...
It's always that first one. The first map is always the most intimidating one to get into. Especially I imagine in Basil's case, because she hasn't had a match yet. Like she hasn't had to get she hasn't had a chance to get the nerves out in a hot minute. But MP Star Command comes out, both players are ready. We're going to get into this first map of this best of 9. First player to 5 points. We'll be moving on to winners semifinals. Loser not out of it just yet, just will become the shark everybody's going to look at in the losers bracket.
Yeah, fear whoever will be versing either one of these players in the losers bracket. And Zoobin already starting off with a couple 200s to open up this chart, while Basil still above that 99.8 range, but we just started off this map. Zoobin finding a bit more 200s. Now they're down to that 97 range, as these slow jams and these speed ups definitely are catching them off.
Yeah, just rushing some of them a little bit, maybe anticipating when the nodes are going to drop down into the receptors. As I mentioned, the speed up gimmick in this can definitely make some of these snaps feel more awkward than they look. They look like 1/4, they play like 1/6, and both of them handling the transitions very nicely. Basil a little bit more so than Zoobin4 now, but the modest node count in this chart will leave some room for catching up if Basil were to find a slip up. But right now, holding on to that perch in that 99.7 range, a full percent ahead of Zoobin for the moment as we cross into the back half of the chart now.
Yeah, just about to reach the back half of this map as we get into the long jack section, where this is where most players I normally see trip up on. Both players hitting the first one. Here comes the second one. Both players still, as this lead starting to really settle at roughly that 15,000 point range, but starts to increase, I believe, maybe start to normalize, but now it's gonna regulate, I think at 16,000. Oh, but Zoobin finds some goods, kind of drags that fast jam section, and as this map just gets more and more SV complicated, Zoobin starting to find a lot more 200s and 100s, and now that lead's going to increase to 25,000 points on Basil's side. Not much map left to go, and I mean, Zoobin having very good accuracy, almost pushing that 99, even with all that happened. Both players on a full combo run, and I mean, as the map is coming to the end, Basil is going to run away with this first point, and they hit the ending!
Oh my goodness, that 991k, 1 200. That is insane. And there you have it, folks. That is Basil SV in a nutshell. I think Zoobin very happy to get the FC. I think that's all they were really hoping for out of this chart. But I mean, when your opponent can put up a score like that, there's really not much you can do. 964, probably one of the higher scores of the weekend on this chart. Once we get to the stats at the end of after tomorrow.
And I mean, credits to Zoobin words. Do take a good look at that ratio between these two players. 13 300s, and this was on a SV pick out of all of the maps. So just imagine what it would be like on a map like Rice 2 or just any of the Rice picks in general. Maybe even the speed pick as well, because both of these players, I would probably assume could definitely absolutely nail those charts. It's definitely going to be one of those cases where it just comes down to the slightest of ratio, maybe even some 200s if you are not careful. But it is now Zoobin's pick of the litter. I would not be surprised if they stay in that top part of the map pool, and we're just waiting for what they're going to go for. Maybe something like Rice 3 or Rice 2 would be a pick they're eyeing.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely some very strong picks on that upper side of the map pool. Not to say that they wouldn't be willing to go into those LN hybrids, and speed is always a consideration for them. So it's going to be Hybrid 3. Otherwise known as Rice 4, Rice 5, yes.
Yeah.
Very Rice heavy. Not the hardest of the hybrids. I think that honor goes to either credits are still in my heart, depending on your preference, your playstyle choices. So very short chart.
I am glad people are starting to use my terminology. I don't know if Rice 5 has been used later or earlier than I have, but I do consider this to be Rice 5. But yeah, as you mentioned, very Rice heavy, with of course a mix of LN in there. So just as long as both of these players can nail those very dense Rice sections and balance out the LNs as well, like I said, it's going to come down to pretty much the final notes of the chart. Just be waiting for these people to ready up.
Yeah, to your point, it's definitely going to be a matter of execution. Like, they both performed very well on the SV. It's just those tiny little mistakes do add up, and in the grand scheme of things, I chalk up 200s and 100s as mistakes for players of this caliber, because misses are fatal for these two, where these maps will be decided on whoever misses first is probably going to be on the losing end, because the frequency of the misses are so seldom, so few and far between, because of the fact that they strive to essentially V1SS literally everything under the sun, and all the maps in this pool are definitely in that range for both of these players. So
yeah, you've been wondering if they played this on Mirror. I honestly, I feel like if you're playing, I mean, this is the tournament where Mirror actually matters.
Oh, absolutely. It was a fun joke. It was a fun joke in joke, but
yeah,
here it actually does make quite a considerable difference. So, looks like Basil going to take the mirror for this chart. No need to flip the seals around. And to be fair, why would we? Because they'd be facing away from each other, and that'd be kind of rude.
Yeah, and plus maybe those seals like facing the other lane, while the first set of seals on Basil's side is staring at Zoobin's lane, while Zoobin's seals are staring into space.
Very apt background for it. And right now getting into the first real sets of anchored long note on one hand with the mini jack streams on the other. That's going to be the frequent proponent of this chart. That's the real pain point of this chart, just handling those excessively long streams of anchors on the hand, and Zoobin finding the slider break.
That is absolutely detrimental. They went from a high 99.8 down to the low 99s. I'm pretty sure a 99.2 if I'm not mistaken. And now Basil has this lead in their ball field, but we are approaching the halfway mark of the map. The density does not end there, and Zoobin is already making a valiant effort to recover that accuracy, and they are already nearing that 400 combo cap. They are already halfway there, and Basil just now pretty much in the driver's seat from that miss. but there are still more of these patterns, especially with the BPM increase here. But I think, yeah, it just normalizes back. But Basil needs to hold on to the combo. Same with Zoobin, as if any of these players miss, honestly, that's pretty much the deciding factor.
Yeah, but with an 18,000 point cushion, last eighth of the chart still left to go, it's really just more of the same from here. If they were able to handle the snap speed ups on some of those bursts, there's really nothing else that can trip them up. A miss for the road, maybe, but no, Basil doing more than enough. 995k, picks up the second point and the first break point in this match, and that is disgusting. Double-digit perfects from both players, just the two misses. I feel like that was just a caught slider halfway through.
One from both player.
Yeah. It's always incredible to see players stepping up to the plate, and we love to see the fingers slipping on a jump. Yeah, that would do it.
My goodness. And it is now Basil's pick of the litter for the breakpoint. I don't know what they would go for. I think maybe credits, or they would dive into the rice. Actually, seeing how they banned rice one, they would probably want to avoid the rice actually, and probably stick to what they want on, and probably go for the hybrid here.
Oh, it's gonna be credits. Yeah, going hybrid 2 here. So rounding out this hybrid pool, understandable for both these players. Just wanting to avoid those rice picks. I feel like there's just a mutual agreement between both these players that they'll only go into those rice picks once everything else is off the table, because those are they give each other too much respect, if I were to put it so bluntly, with regards to their ratio, and they've been showing it. Those double-digit counts on the 300s are nothing to scoff at. When you remove the LN elements, you remove the release element, and just kind of let them go, we would probably see even lower counts.
Yeah, and as we just wait for them to ready up, I feel like
a timer, honestly.
There was a timer, and it just ended. I think it's too far up now in the chat room.
It just disappears in an instant, but
yeah,
I think they're starting to kind of settle in. I feel like the beginning of this match was just more nerves. Like, okay, let's just delay the inevitable. I know we got to get into this map, but come on, just give me a second to breathe. Just give me a second, because I feel like if they could just jump out of their chairs, they would.
It's like, quit being friends, you're enemies in this situation.
Oh, okay, this is gonna be the real decider. Who can handle these opening LNs better? And Zoobin picking up a plethora of 200s to start this map off. Not unrecoverable, but with the way these two have been playing, it might be a bit of a hill to climb right out of the gate here.
Yeah, I mean, just as long... I mean, Zoobin's already making a hefty recovery, but those were quite the amount of 200s at that opening. And I mean, and I mean, just as long as you can normalize those long jacks and like these shields, all the way until that final part of the map where it definitely picks up in difficulty a bit, then you should be all right. Basil still in that 99.7 range and climbing. 13,000 points in their favor. Zoobin about to reach that 99 cap. And here's a little part where Zoobin will definitely climb up that accuracy even more. About to head into the map that definitely chokes up a lot of people if they are not careful. This is kind of like the hybrid 2 situation of, I'm pretty sure, round of 16. And here we go. Both players absolutely nailing this section.
These alternating streams, the odd to even transitions between the hands, you can't really autopilot your way through it, and both of them handling it expertly as we transition on into this outro. Not a lot of real gimmicks left. You get that reprisal of that burst into the chords right afterwards, but they have been handling those so smoothly each time that they come up, and like I mentioned, execution, the name of the game here, as Basil able to manage that introduction. Zoobin not as much, and it was just a game of catch-up, but one too many 200s, and it was
Oh
over
my.
right as it started. Another 990k from Basil here.
That is absolutely nuts from Basil. And this entire time they were going into this match saying, "Oh, I'm gonna get swept. I'm gonna get swept." They are up 3-0.
Yeah,
I don't think you're getting swept.
Yeah, you can put the broom away. But for right now, Zoobin up to pick once again. Now it's not for lack of trying. This scoreline doesn't indicate the real tail of the tape. I mean, sure, SV probably advantage Basil, but in Purple Perplex.
Race 3.
Ooh, okay.
So,
Going into the rice picks, I feel like the emergency glass has been broken now.
yeah, the emergency, the break in case of emergency glass has been broken. Zoobin has pretty much resorting to probably what they feel most confident on taking a point on. And I mean, I don't think I need to say Zoobin or how Zoobin does on rice. Let's just put it like this: they are absolutely scary in rice. Like, if you are not named Nathaniel, then oh my goodness, you are a rice god. then this guy's like a rice god.
Yeah,
compared to in some other tourneys.
For sure, and it's funny because this is two different playstyles being put to the test on a chart that has some really fast long jacks, the alternating style of Zoobin versus the full single tap of Basil. It's gonna be the bottom out key versus getting the wrist down fast enough altercation, but both of them more than capable of doing it, and we'll see who comes out on top. Can Zoobin right the ship a little bit? Definitely capable of doing it, but gonna need to put it to the test here because Basil is on a bit of a roll, and a second breakpoint would put them in dire straits. Not insurmountable, but definitely don't want to be 4-0 down right out of the gate here.
And I think I might know why Zoobin might have found those 200s on credits. Maybe they just played it on double time and forgot to play it on normal rate.
No, I think they said it was the first note lag, just caught them out.
Oh,
especially with it being a
lag.
chained LN, you just rush all of it, regardless of if you get back on track or not. So unfortunate there, but doing very strong out of the gate here. Picked up a early onset of 200s, I believe, or just a rush of 300s that dropped them down into that mid 99 range. And Basil once again just capitalizing on the situation. 99.9 for them. As I mentioned earlier, it's like both of them very capable of playing a chart like this, very straightforward, at least for their playstyles. It's just going to be keeping that 300 count to an absolute minimum here.
Yeah, and Zoobin absolutely climbing up their accuracy from those early 300s they have received, but Basil basically just setting in stone their accuracy, 99.92, occasionally dropping a few 300s here and there, but it immediately climbs that accuracy back up when it does happen. Zoobin still pretty close behind as this map does continue out. I think it's going to have to cause at least a 200 for that lead to shrink probably just in the thousands range, but Zoobin about to reach that 99.8 as more of these pretty tricky to coordinate jacks come around. And as we progress to the last quarter, Basil is still gaining accuracy. What are you doing? You're single tapping. You're not supposed to be able to do this.
They're just showing off what they're made of right now. It's still 2,000 points, still teetering. It can flip in an instant here. They can't handle this outro. But so far, it has just been near perfection from both of these players. It's still shrinking though, inside 2,000 as Zoobin tries to come in, but not gonna do it just enough to stave off the advance, and Basil makes it a match point 57 to 66. Ooh. Wouldn't have mattered in terms of ratio, but oh my goodness. Okay. Okay. All right. All right, there are some video games being played at the moment.
Oh my goodness! Please select which ones are crosswalks. Please, I need to know
No,
if you're not a robot.
we need you to find where the sign is on this picture of a bridge.
Yeah. We actually need
Take
you
out
to
the box
solve-
truck.
Yeah. We actually need you to find out what this word says.
I think it says 11'8".
Yeah. Oh, what a reference.
It's call it Thursday. So I'm throwing it back. But regardless, all right, it is Zoobin to pick, and it's really, if I were to hazard a guess, I feel like Rice 4 might be an option here. Just go into that tech. It's so incredibly awkward. You know, you can maybe just call it Hybrid 4. If Hybrid 3 is Rice 5, I think we can call Rice 4 Hybrid 4. But
and they're going for Rice 4. Okay.
oh, did I miss a tribute to pick? Oops, I said Zoobin was up to pick. My bad. I forgot it was Basil's pick. I was very much formulating like the game plan of how to get back into it. I just completely forgot that Basil was up to pick. My bad. But Basil going for the tech. All right. I guess for Basil, keeping it non-standard, getting out of those ratio battles, because 9 perfects is basically a hesitation between these two.
Yeah, and I mean, as we did see from Rice 3, it can just change in an instant. And honestly, as long as Zoobin can keep those nerves down to a T, as long as no first, no legs happen, as long as they play at that pretty much picture perfect, they could probably snag a breakpoint here if they play their cards right. But Basil, they have shown that they absolutely dominate on Rice charts. And they've even out-ratioed Zoobin on, I'm pretty sure, every single map that has been played. So,
yeah.
I mean, then again, Basil still, even if Zoobin plays picture perfect, Basil's still giving them a run for their money, but it's all going to come down to this pick. And both players are ready, as we are going to get underway with what could potentially be the last pick of this match. And Zoobin is hoping the brooms stay away for this one. And they're going to have to fight for those brooms to stay away on this pick. Rice 4, the technical-based pick. And here we go.
Yeah, this map, akin to every other Rice foil we've had so far, just very freeform, very undulating in terms of snap complexity. It's very hard to kind of settle in at times because you're being asked to do like 1/4 streams that have like a 1/5, a 1/6 thrown in just for good measure, flams here and there, the chords are broken up, and then you have the ever-present LNs that come in to kind of disrupt the flow a little bit, just forcing you to avoid bouncing off of your key if you aren't too careful, depending on your playstyle. Can definitely catch out either of these players if they aren't too careful, but for right now, this introduction being very kind to both of them. Basil picking up a couple of 200s here and there as they make their way through those flam chord transitions, and Zoobin takes their, I believe, their first lead in this match, 1,300 points to the good, as we make our way into the second quarter.
And I mean, as you mentioned, with Basil's 200, that lead still roughly by 1,500 points and shrinking here and then as Basil starts to normalize that accuracy. And I mean, this is Zoobin's specialty. If you give them a map with very, like this is basically their bread and butter when it comes to maps that have very awkward snappings, very awkward tech flams and braces. This is basically what Zoobin is most comfortable with when it comes to these rice picks. This is definitely what they are favored in. And right now, they are definitely showing it 99.91, and Basil 0.09% behind Zoobin, and that lead started to shrink in just a tad bit as Basil climbs that accuracy up ever so slightly.
Yeah, crossing into the halfway point. Zoobin finds the first drop, though, transitioning on into the back half. Arguably one of the worst spots to find a drop, but keeping it relatively clean. Not losing as much accuracy as they have in previous charts. Only losing about 0.2%. Basil trades back some of that accuracy as well, but manages to hold on to the combo, so not going to be as much of a runaway as we have seen on previous maps. Only 6,000 points. Zoobin able to keep it in check as they make this recovery climb. Once they cross that 400 combo cap, the accuracies are tied. They're going to start making a dent here. Basil resting on that one miss cushion.
Yeah, but as Zoobin is about to near that 400 combo cap, they are ahead in accuracy, but I think that accuracy gap needs to be much, much bigger for Zoobin to at least take this lead back in their favor, and there's only really not much map left to go. And I mean, just as long as Zoobin stays ahead of Basil, that lead already starting to shrink in. 7,000 points, now 6,000, now 5,000, and shrinking even more as Basil finds a 200 there. If they find more 200s, this could potentially spell out danger. But I mean, as this map is coming to a close, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. And as there's only this final section left to go, I mean, there is still room for misses to happen, but or at least just anything on Basil's side. And I think that's it, though. There's only this final section left, and Basil is going to sweep Zoobin and knock them into the losers bracket. Oh my goodness!
It just those fine margins between these two. That 5-0 is such a disservice to how close this match was teetering on. And Zoobin with the words everybody's probably saying, Basil, do you ever miss? It's like they have their shaky moments, sure. They have those moments where the nerves maybe start to creep in, but there just wasn't an opening this match. Anybody else on any other day, Zoobin maybe gets a couple extra points, but Basil just untouchable tonight.
Yeah, absolutely putting the pedal to the metal, and they have just punched their ticket into the winner semifinals. Their opponent has has been decided. They are versing Nathaniel.
Okay.
That is going to be
that is the reward
next week.
That is the reward.
While for Zoobin, their opponent has not yet been decided down in that losers bracket for loser semis. It is either going to be LS Mari or Prongle, and that match is going to be happening pretty soon. But first, we have one match before that, and I'm just gonna say, Prongle or Mari and everybody else in the losers bracket, be scared.
Yeah. Be very scared. It's going to be quite a roller coaster, but time on... Oh, it got updated. It is going to be about an hour from now at 0:30 UTC. It got rescheduled at the last second. It'll be Alemanno 333 versus Astronian, and then that aforementioned Marie Prongle match. And then we'll continue on the rest of the weekend as a bit of a block coming up. It depends on who wins, but I think the match after that will round out with Sleepy Maddie versus the winner of that Alemanno Astronian match. So plenty more to come this evening as we roll into Sunday. Definitely don't want to miss it, but until then, we'll catch you guys later.
Goodbye.